A reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. Rejoice, O young man, while you are young, and let your heart be glad in the days of your youth. Follow the ways of your heart, the vision of your eyes. Yet understand that as regards all this, God will bring you to judgment. Ward off grief from your heart and put away trouble from your presence, though the dawn of youth is fleeting. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come, and the years approach of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Before the sun is darkened, and the light, and the moon, and the stars, while the clouds return after the rain, when the guardians of the house tremble, and the strong men are bent, and the grinders are idle because they are few, and they who look through the windows grow blind. When the doors to the street are shut, and the sound of the mill is low, when one waits for the chirp of a bird, but all the daughters of song are suppressed, and one fears heights and perils in the street, when the almond tree blooms, and the locust grows sluggish, and the caperberry is without effect, because man goes to his lasting home, and mourners go about the streets. Before the silver cord is snapped, and the golden bowl is broken, and the pitcher is shattered at the spring, and the broken pulley falls into the well, and the dust returns to the earth as it once was, and the life breath returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says Koheleth, all things are vanity. Verbum Domini. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. You turned man back to dust, saying, Remember, O children of men, for 1,000 years in your sight are as yesterday, now that it is past, or as a watch of the night. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. You make an end of them in their sleep. The next morning they are like the changing grass, which at dawn springs up anew, but by evening wilts and fades. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain wisdom of heart. Return, O Lord, how long? Have pity on your servants. In every age, O Lord, you have been our refuge. Fill us at daybreak with your kindness, that we may be shouting for joy and gladness all our days. And may the gracious care of the Lord, our God, be ours. Prosper the work of our hands for us. Prosper the work of our hands. In every age, O Lord, we have been our refuge.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
Dominus vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Lectio Sancti Evangelii secundum Lucam.
Gloria tibi, Domine.
While While they were all amazed at his every deed, Jesus said to his disciples, "Pay attention to what I am telling you. The Son of Man is to be handed over to men." But they did not understand this saying. Its meaning was hidden from them so that they should not understand it, and they were afraid to ask him about this saying. Verbum Domini.
Laus tibi Christe.
It is fantastic to see so many young people here this morning. I know you heard that I was going to be preaching, and so you got up early. But you're here as young college students for the benefit of our viewing audience and our local congregation. These young people are here preparing to lead an awakening retreat in a few weeks for their peers, for fellow college students. So these are future retreat leaders for an awakening retreat, and they are preparing themselves this weekend through prayer and instruction and opening their hearts to the Lord. And Father John Paul has been working with them. I would give you a word of counsel that next time, find a chaplain who's a little bit more merciful, doesn't get you up this early. University students being at a 7 a.m. Mass is unheard of. Giving you grief there, Father John Paul. But I would just want to encourage all of you. That's the greatest thing that you can do, probably one of the most wonderful acts of charity and an act of mercy toward your peers, to invite them to a deeper relationship and encounter with Jesus Christ and an experience of his mercy and love for them. So we promise our prayers for you. Now, on that note, we look at the reading from the book of Ecclesiastes today, which is speaking about old age. Very ironic. And I think, we've been hearing this the past several days. Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. And it's hard to, at first, interpret what is the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes telling us. Is he saying that life is just futile and that we kind of live day in and day out and day in and day out, and what's the worth of it all? That's how you feel. But that's not what he's saying. We refer to the book of Ecclesiastes among a couple of others. We call it the wisdom literature. And so it's very helpful for us to take this wisdom literature and use it in our time of meditation, our time of prayer. Because the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes is speaking to us very soberly about what life is all about. What is the meaning of life? That's kind of the question at work in all of this. And when we understand that our meaning of life is very much linked to our relationship with God, a proper relationship with God, then our life does have meaning. Without that, it is very empty, and we come up dry, you might say. If we just look at some of the passages from today's reading, we could say that in many ways what this section of the book of Ecclesiastes is telling us is these passages or these comments that we hear so often. Older people will tell youth, live while you are still young. Enjoy life while you are still young. And we don't mean, party until, 4 in the morning, but to have a zest for life. Because so often we're always looking to tomorrow, and today is gone. And so older people recognize that and will say, enjoy this life while you have it and live it to the full. Isn't this what St. John Paul II so often challenged youth to do? to recognize the energy that they had and the opportunity that they had to live for God today. Other people will say life or youth, it's wasted on the young. Because those of us who get older, we look and say, well, if I understand this treasure, this gift of youth, and if I could have it back, I would seize it. And so oftentimes we look at young people and say they just don't realize this gift that has been given to them. And so that's what we hear in this passage today. Rejoice, O young man, while you are young, and let your heart be glad in the days of your youth. And then the writer of Ecclesiastes immediately reminds this young man or the young people, yet understand that God will bring you to judgment. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth before the evil days come. Now that's not to hit the keys on the organ like, rejoice while you are young, and then boom, 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 but this kind of fear, like, God is coming in judgment for me. That's not what the writer of Ecclesiastes is saying. He says, live and enter into this life that has been given to you. But in order to live it properly, we have to keep it in perspective, that we are accountable for these days before God, who is our judge, our merciful judge, a loving Father. And remember your Creator in the days of your youth. The days of evil that are coming, he's referring to this encroachment of old age, the passing of life. And it's not an evil from the pits of hell as much as we begin to be deprived more and more and more of the things of life. And so philosophically we speak of that as an evil, when we do not have present that which should be there. This energy that is proper to life all of a sudden is waning. We're supposed to be able to see clearly. We start losing our sight. We're supposed to be able to hear well. We start losing our hearing. These are things that he's speaking of, these evil days that are to come. Before I launch into more of the things that are said in the book of Ecclesiastes, we hear this reflected also in the Psalms. And in the Psalm for today, what do we hear? 1,000 years in your sight, O Lord, are as yesterday, now that it is past, or as a watch of the night. You make an end of them in their sleep. The next morning they are like the changing grass, which at dawn springs up anew, but by evening wilts and fades. And so the psalmist is making this reference to how short is our earthly existence. And he's lamenting that. That so quickly, like the passing of a night is how quickly our life is over. Ask anyone who is elderly, and that's what they'll tell you. How quickly life passes in this short time that we have on earth. 1,000 years in your sight are like a passing day. This grass comes up in the morning and it's gone in the evening. It withers and fades in the evening. And so what does the psalmist say in reflecting on that? If this is how quickly my life on earth passes, our prayer then is, teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain wisdom of heart. So again, it's this reference to keeping our eyes on the Lord, that we may live these days that we are given properly according to his design, according to his grace, according to his will. And this is where we gain wisdom. This is where we live according to this gift of wisdom from God. But I want to say this, and so many of our viewers are homebound or find themselves in the hospital or in nursing centers. I know this always doesn't come, the effects of old age don't always feel beautiful. But I think if we look at it in terms of what the author or the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes is saying, how he's describing this process of growing old, he speaks of it in a very poetic and beautiful way. And it resonates, I think, in our hearts. He says, when the guardians of the house tremble and the strong men are bent. So the guardians of the house, here's these men who have been so strong, our fathers, our grandfathers. And as they begin to get older, they begin to tremble. Not in fear, but older people shake. And then he says, and the strong man is bent over. Isn't this what happens when we see this, our dads who seem like this man who can protect us, who's so invincible, who's so absolutely powerful. And all of a sudden, as age creeps in, they start hunching over and looking more and more frail. It's written, they who look through the window grow blind. An elderly person often will sit at the window and look out, and their sight fades. They can't see as far as they used to. Cataracts come over our eyes, and all of a sudden, everything starts to look more dull. The brilliance of the colors of the world aren't what they used to be. When the doors to the street are shut and the sound of the mill is low. So as we get older, we're not able to get out and be as active as we are when you're young people. How many of you young people, your dorm room or the apartment you live in is kind of a place where you just stop over briefly? You don't go there, this is my home. You're barely there. And so you come and go, but as we get older, we're confined more behind these closed doors. So when the doors to the street are shut and the sound of the mill is low, so all the activity of life, all of our work, we've invested ourselves and our energy in all of this labor, and all of that as we enter into retirement and old age is left behind. And then there's this reference, one fears heights and the perils in the street. So as we get older, this is again something you young people take for granted. How often you visit your grandparents and what do they say? Get up on that stool and get that for me. Because they can't get up there anymore. They can't stand on these heights. And the older we get, the more we fear what's happening outside in the street, the perils in the street. If we just look at the news media the last 3 days, it's not elderly people who are out in those protests. It's young people. Because elderly people become more and more afraid. This is what happens as we grow old. And this is what the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes is giving this perfect description of what happens in the passing of our life. I'm going to make a very brief reference to this when the caperberry is without effect. The caperberry at this time, when this would have been written, is reference to what you see endlessly on commercials in between football games and everything else about these enhancement drugs to bring a little bit more energy to our romance. Okay, that's what the caperberry is referring to. And it would be like getting up there and saying, if I'm the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes today, I would be saying, you hear about Viagra, you hear about Cialis, it doesn't work anymore. And we don't like to hear that. But that's what the writer of the book of Ecclesiastes is saying. We lose everything as we get older, guys. We lose our sight, we lose our hearing, we lose our strength. We even lose this aspect of our life. And we mourn that. And then the writer of Ecclesiastes says this, a perfect description of death. The pitcher is shattered at the spring, and the broken pulley falls into the well. And the dust returns to the earth as it once was, and the life breath returns to God who gave it. So this image of this broken pulley, for years we pull on that rope and pull up the water from the well. We can imagine all of a sudden that lets loose. It starts getting older and older and more used, and it lets loose, and the whole thing falls into the well. And that's a description of the end of our life. And he says, the dust then returns to the earth as it once was, and the life breath, the soul, this breath that is in us that we receive at the moment of our conception, this gift from God, life that can only come from God, then returns to God who gave it. To be at the deathbed of one we love, what happens? We wait and are with that person to that very last moment. And what does that last moment sound like? There's this labored breathing, and all of a sudden, and the room is silent. We have that experience, so felt experience in our humanity, the frailty of our humanity, the shortness of our life, that breath in us ends and the soul leaves us and returns to the God who created it. The soul belongs to him. And then that is the meaning of our life. If we hold on to that reality and understand that reality, all of this aspect of living day in and day out on this earth all of a sudden has meaning and makes sense to us. If we lose sight of that, this life becomes very dark and it becomes very empty. I just want to quickly look at a section of the book of Ecclesiastes that we read on Thursday. It says, one generation passes and another comes, but the world forever stays. There is no remembrance of the men of old, nor of those to come will there be any remembrance among those who come after them. And in this section of the book of Ecclesiastes, the writer is speaking of how we can look at this river. We stand next to the stream and we see this water constantly flowing. And yet the sea into which it flows is never filled up and overflows. And the spring never runs dry. And he speaks of the sun coming up in the morning and going down at night, coming up in the morning and going down at night. And he invites us to reflect upon men of all these different ages who looked upon that same sun, people who looked upon that same stream. And we're just like them, but do we even remember people who looked at the sun in the 800s or in the 1200s, even in the 1900s? And all these people have passed before us and lived their life on this earth, and do we remember them? No, we really don't. We know they existed, but their name isn't forever. And we look and say, well, I want to make such an impact on this world today that I will be remembered forever. Well, imagine 100 years and 500 years, 1,000 years from now. Is anybody going to remember who we were? They might be able to find a YouTube video, but is that going to really leave this great, profound impression? No, and this is what the writer of Ecclesiastes is telling us. So often we're striving for this eternal remembrance on earth. We want an eternal remembrance here, that we're immemorialized, in a building, in a statue, in a legacy. And how many times do we walk past a statue and we have no idea who it was, who this person was or is or had any effect on, but there's that statue, And that's not a bad thing. If someone has left an impact and history, fine. But are they really eternal here on earth? No. And that's what this Ecclesiastes, this is what the wisdom literature is telling us, that Your meaning is not in seeking after some kind of eternal remembrance or eternal identity here. But the meaning of our life and the purpose of our life is an eternal remembrance, an eternal identity in heaven. And so as the writer of Ecclesiastes is saying that age upon age upon age on this earth keeps passing. But then what we should reflect upon is God himself, to whom there is no beginning, to whom there is no end, God who always is, the eternity of God. And yet in him, each and every single one of us has an identity and is known to him. Our name is written in that book of life, the book of life of God, through our baptism and our perseverance in his life of grace. Now, to think of this God who is so beyond any of this temporal reality, that he takes possession of us, that he knows us. And in him we have the meaning of our life. And in order to enter into a share in that eternity, into a share in God himself, we do that through Jesus Christ. And so we call Jesus by all kinds of different names. And yet it's in Jesus that we have this meaning and this purpose in the passing of our days. In the book of Ecclesiastes, or in the Psalm we pray, prosper the work of our hands for us, prosper the work of our hands. And so we recognize everything that I do is not for waste or for naught. It has meaning and purpose in the eyes of God, who by his design put me in this temporal existence, put me on this earth, in this passing time today, so that I can serve him faithfully, and it has an eternal and lasting effect, maybe not here, but an eternal and lasting effect for all eternity, a lasting effect in heaven. And so this is what we ask the Lord, that we have this proper perspective of life and that we can live it fully in his service.